This podcast contains discussions of violent and disturbing content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is strongly advised. The views and opinions expressed are for informational and entertainment purposes only and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast's creators, hosts, or affiliated parties. If you or someone you know is in need of support, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional. This episode is brought to you by listeners like you, fueling our podcast and giving us the boost behind this mic. Thank you for your support. Coming up in the podcast. Right, Daddy and them have a open forum of discussion, I wouldn't even call it an open forum of discussion. It was more like an argument, right? For the potential plan of moving the children. Yeah, that happened. You're not gonna want to miss this one.
Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captivated audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on Code Flix.
Welcome back to Falling Skies Season 1. If you're just joining me, this is part 2 of our deep dive into the series. Previously, we explored episodes 1 through 5. Now it's time to continue with episodes 6 through 10, where the stakes get higher, secrets are revealed, and the story builds toward its unforgettable finale. Let's continue.
Before we jump back into the episode, I've got one quick favor to ask. I see the downloads, I see the listens, but I don't see enough comments. So if you're enjoying the episode, drop a comment wherever you're listening or watching. Tell me what you think about today's topic. Did you agree with my take? Did I miss something? Did you have a different theory? Your comments help me make better episodes, spark new discussions, and build a stronger sci-fi community around the podcast. Don't leave me talking to myself. Drop a comment and I'll be sure to check it out. All right? Let's get back to the podcast. Episode 6. Sanctuary, Part 1. So this is the first part of a two-parter, the first two-parter for the series. And it starts out, pretty normal-like with a young kid by the name of Eli who visits Dr. Anglass and he's there for an examination, usual stuff, right? With his parents and thing. And, while they're, Lored said, why, we need to go get some batteries. So, may I go step out here? You good here? And thing. And she's like, yeah, everything seems, all right. But then everything completely goes terribly wrong, right? Eli's parents, them hold and at gunpoint, right? And demand that she gives them the antibiotics and some of the other medical equipment, right? Because, right, remember that news about Dr. Harris' death and the whole thing with the fact that the Arnes children them are back in base camp. Yeah, some people like Eli parents, them no really want to Stick around to find out what's gonna happen in next season. You know what I'm saying? They're like literally, you know what I'm saying? They, you know what I'm saying? Say, yo, we are tech foot, we are tech out, we self out of this situation. Yeah. So they so them need it for, leave the mass, the second mass, and you know, if them all go and join any other persons, it would be a good bargaining chip for them and thing. Now, and she a try, in her last ditch effort, for keep the medication, but unfortunately, Eli father overpower. Him even go as far as to say sorry, right? Because him no mean for harm her and thing, she a nice doctor and him know her and thing and whatever, you know. But him a try to keep him family safe, so all bet is out the door. You know what I'm saying? Him no business about that part there, really. So him apologizing, and that's the thing, sometimes people feel say they can do you something and apologize. And that's not how it works, right? That's not how anything works when it comes to those things. You can't just apologize and just expect people to just take it and just, even if it hurts them, deeply for them to just say, all right, may I forgive you? No, no, I not have to forgive you, right? Especially when you cause me great distress and harm. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, back to the episode. So Tom and Weaver, right? Them springing in and try to catch up to Eli parents. I remember saying, them need this thing and thing. You know what I'm saying? The father seemed to be desperate, so them a try to kind of make sure say, yo, at the same time, them no, cause anything, big to come out. They don't want hurt him or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So, the fact that him even now go try and defend himself and shoot back at them now go take a thing for say boy, them and go, that all bets are off. They're gonna try to preserve his life, So in a standoff, this man suddenly appear and him demand that, the father put on his weapon, right? It turns out that this man is Terry Clayton and he's from the 7th Mass, right? Him order the frightened father to hand over even the stolen medical supplies, right? Because, basically you have him, pinned. You know what I'm saying? Him trained pan him and thing. So the family say, boy, this not worth it, you know what I'm saying? And them take foot and leave, right? Now, Terry, I tell Weaver say, oh, some unfortunate news and thing, The 7th Mass gone and, completely gone. And the fact is now there is even worse news because the skidders, them headed in the direction of the 2nd Mass, right? So it must say that the skitters got all the kids, right? And they mix them take care of the rest of the group, right? So them only have 8 fighters and half a dozen civilians are the only ones where really survive, and them find one place where them can keep themselves safe in a one abandoned place. Now, before I go on, Terry and Weaver, them go back, right? From army days and stuff. And so, Weaver have a little part of him that is like, yeah, this dude, I know him, I know what I know about him, you know what I'm saying? So him feel comfortable with hearing this news without actually pressing any further about what is what or, even going extent to see what is happening. You know what I'm saying? Keep the thing skeptical, right? Without trying to blow off the person, make the person feel like you don't trust them totally, Yeah, you say this and all of this. All of this is what you're saying, but I don't see any evidence right now, you know what I'm saying? And no, and basically I go trust Terry, right? Because He might tell him, say, boy, they must set up some giant structures and them need more slave labor, which is the honest kids, right? So Commander Porter would have given him orders, say that they might go regroup with the third mass for, join up with the second mass, right? So all of that story of him, what I'm saying, was just a prepare story for kind of lure Weaver into a sense of security, eh? All right. So in the meantime, them would sit tight for the 72 hours, right? To see if another attack occurs, right? So what Terry say is that, listen, everybody were under 20, right? Can come with me, right? And my team back to the farmland, right? Now, of course, that sent up alarm bells in a Tom head, right? Aside from the fact, say, you're going to be taking my kids and other people's kids. Nobody not really want to hear about that right now. Nobody don't want to hear, say, them kids are go anywhere other than with them, right? So that now go really be a easy thing for tell people, even if it is for the best of the children, okay, this is a command decision, and there's a strategy behind it. At least that's what you believe in, right? So a worried parent, would I get wind of this potential plan to send the kids them off, and other persons, not see a harm in it, right? The kids them have become targets, as I said before, right? And this I got even increase the panic in the second mass. So you kind of try to keep things level. You don't want people being too panicked, because when people panic, you see some weird stuff happening, and yeah, people don't want to cooperate none at all. Now at the same time, and Maggie, some of the prenatal pill them, right, for Sarah, the pregnant woman, you remember her? Maggie, I noticed that and kind of look a bit disheveled, a bit under the weather, if you want to call it, especially because of the attack what happened earlier, you know what I'm saying? Cause she has said she feel like, say, she could have done, better. She could have fight back and whatever, against Eli's father. So Maggie is, trying to help her, trying to reassure her. Shine her a gun, you know what I'm saying? And say, it's for future protection. You don't have to use it, but you just want to know, say it's there. Just in case you need it, you'll be feel much better, right? So later on now, Matt asks Ben about the harness scars, right? And in another scene here, I literally was wondering, what kind of drugs they did have about, because Ben did have a press. Him did I do some push up, man. You know what I'm saying? And him a count himself and thing and whatever, Ben, yo, you see what I say? So Ben I say, yo, him and the other kids were with the skidders, them never really think, it's not like they were able to think on their own. It was like the skidders were thinking with them, you know what I'm saying? And him say, it was very scary when they caught him, but after them attached the harness, it wasn't so bad, you know what I'm saying? And him must say that in some bizarre way, it felt like the skidders cared about the kids. It's almost like them take them under their wing, like them care for them. And it kind of saw that in the way how the skidders were behaving, other than the time when the skitter did kind of point and the picking them get unalived. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, you kind of get the sense that they kind of care for the kids in a way. So it's kind of weird how they, they are. But if you know what I know, you know what I mean. So we're gonna get there, right? I don't even want to spoil that yet. I want to wait till the time appointed for you see that part there for yourself, for you hear that, yeah. Anyways, later, the doctor is, still a little bit jumpy, after her attack, and she even take it up on our patients them. I'll, stop by a worry about Ben and thing, and him notice that she not act like herself. So, him the animal, tell her say is once bratty, smart little brother is now a different person. You know what I'm saying? Him can see it, him can feel it, him can sense it, Now, the doctor now, later on, this is way later, meets up with Tom and she had, follow up with Ben based on what Hal I say, and Tom doesn't really have anything for say because, right now, he's not really focused on that part of life right now, Him also mentioned though that him have a hesitancy towards taking up Terry on the offer. Cause that's way him really, bring the pan that, him potentially have to go make him kids them go leave him, and yeah, that taking up his brain space, so him not really have much to offer there, right? Or even to be able to notice that him friend is in need right now, right? So, of course, the weight of being a leader, but also as a father, really comes down to what the right decision is and whether he can really stay impartial enough to make the right one. You know what I'm saying? The logical one, the proper one. Now, you remember Jimmy, the 13-year-old fighter? He volunteers his services to Weaver, right? Because he really wants to continue to help the resistance, right? And of course, Weaver obliges him. Say, yo, you're a young fighter. Go on night security duty. It shouldn't be too bad. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't be too bad. And if I hear me stress that your nose is sitting go on bad, right? Anyways. And she then at the medical ward and thing, and she look on herself in the mirror, and it's almost like she just recognize, say she totally bruised up her face and thing, and it's almost like she remember the attack earlier on, and how she felt and thing, and so my lady decides, say, yo, she going to ask Maggie to teach her how to use a gun, right? So them go somewhere out in the bush, right? And she take her first shot. And of course, with anybody who has used a gun before, you have a, feeling of, that much power, right? But you know what I'm saying? Because you get thing there, you training, you kind of have to be comfortable with it and all of that. So yeah, Anyways, now later that night, the parents and the fighter them, right? Them daddy and them have a open forum of discussion, I wouldn't even call it an open forum of discussion. It was more like an argument, right? For the potential plan of moving the children out of home base, right? And one man daddy and him talk about taking the children away is a horrible decision. And this are gonna break the moral and the spirit of the parents, because they have been fighting for their kids, knowing that their kids are here, where them can come back, come see them, no one have them shipped off somewhere, and then, them not have that anymore, And him basically I say, yo, listen, me gonna keep my daughter, And him even go as far as to pull it in weapon, almost like if I say, yo, anybody dare take my picking from me, So quickly I said, no. You know what I'm saying? Remember the real enemy, the real enemy, right? And everybody for just try and just see, we are try make the best decision And that we want to do this, but if we have to, come to some understanding. So Tom say, oh, listen, when the time come, I will decide this. You know what I'm saying? Whether the kids go or not. This not gonna be a Weaver decision. The man plainly does be like, yo, I'm in charge of this year. You know what I'm saying? So, as I mentioned before, Jimmy is given night duty and he's out on patrol, that night. And all of a sudden, there is mechs and an attack is underway, right? Some of the fighters, them come outdoors to defend the base and, in the commotion, Jimmy end up caught in the middle of the gunfire. Why him have to run for safety, him have to left him post, right? Because he was out there with another, scout, them there and them there and them a pass the time, And then when they mix them start fire, things go on, The other guy end up dying and so Jimmy was left alone, right? So Jimmy I run now into the building for safety, right? And I try to even notify the second master and thing. But him not see nobody around, right? But a skitter was following him, right? And the skitter grabbed Jimmy from behind. Now, they say, when Weaver, the man, them reach, you know what I'm saying? Jimmy, that shake. You know what I'm saying? Literally a shake. I say, right? Him that try to defend himself with the help of one of him handgun and thing, right? Yeah, but it's like it never have no use to him, right? Luckily, Weaver come in time, deal with the alien, right? Of course, this is pure shock and fear now, you know what I'm saying? It caused Jimmy to just turn from this hardened soldier that you probably know him as, or notice him to be, into this teary-eyed child. The youth ball. So, and I check out Jimmy now, to make sure I'm okay. Terry enter the medical station and say, they were lucky they were, that it's only one mech that attacked the base. And, this sends up red flags to me. I don't know what you think, right? Let me know. I tell them, say, that this is how it started with the seventh mass, and then, after this, the aliens, them come in another wave, right? And it looks like the camp would be, my better safe haven for them, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. At this point, back in the auditorium now, Ben and him honest scars, them, I met the rest of the civilians, them uneasy. One man, him a call him Razorback, and him demand that him get out of him way, and, them not be very nice, with him and thing. Now, Hala Maggie, them rush in now and thing, and, defend Ben and thing, you know what I'm saying? But, of course, Ben must feel a way about it. Him left, you know what I'm saying? Because food him come for eat, and him have to just left, you know what I'm saying? The man, him not trust honest kids, because he must say that they could be, kids that them are use to attack them and all of these things and rare. Now, little after this now, Ben tell him fathers that he want to go with Clayton to the safe haven, right? And him really want to do this because he don't want to be a distraction for him father, and, even with them I try to prepare for an attack, right? Now, Tom asks him, son, if him happy. Are you happy, my son, that you're back? Because, you know what I'm saying? And Ben say, of course. So him, he want to leave in order to help him father. That's what he's thinking, right? Of course, because of this, like a heart-to-heart with Ben, Tom make up his mind and him send the children with Clayton. because he believed that sending them with security, would that be a better option, right? For survival, right? For them to leave rather than to stay. So they said their goodbyes, adults and the children, of course, is very bittersweet. They hopes, that things would work out better. Tom bid farewell to him three son, right? Because Hal will be joining them to protect the two younger brothers, them, right? Them leave and thing, and everybody are watch and thing. No, the kids them get escorted, and they would have told them that there's this map, and them a show where and where they would go, right? They were being told, they would have told Tom and the rest of guys them back at the second mast that, right? And when Al was even following the map, him never see the detour that now Terry makes, right? And them end up going off and find one ranch, right? Which is actually where they were supposed to be going, right? So it kind of set up a red flag to Hal, right? Now, them got to sleep because they reached there, late and thing, and them will be able to get facility better in the morning. In other night, now we see where Terry enter one room, right? And him see young Eli that they are, sit down by himself. The little boy asks when him going to be able to see him parents. And Terry promised him, said that it is now the time. What? What? Anyways, him take him out into the woods. What? And then he come across a young girl whose name Megan. Sorry, Megan. Megan is her name. And the young girl is harnessed. She tells Eli that she will take him to see his family. Of course, young Eli is like, no, something kind of strange about this, and thing. In a flash of a moment, we see before Eli is able to run away, a Meg shoots the child with when the skitter come and haul him away. Now Megan tells Terry he's late and inquires about the number of children that he has in his possession. So from that, it can be assumed that, there's something about Terry here and the, aliens, what I'm saying? Some kind of deal he's made, right? To deliver kids, right? And he might tell them, at 2 days' time, right? And they owe them, have provided basically for him. So some kind of, treaties or deal for them leave Terry and him people them alone, for him people them. Now, Terry leave the wood and him return to the ranch, right? You'd think that the episode would be ending at this point. But no, we see him enter what looks like one dungeon-like place, right? And him a thank one unidentified man about the tip. Guess who that man is now? John Pope. He tipped them off, right? He tipped off Terry about the second mass location, right? And he has been a hostage, giving up intel, probably for him life or whatever it is, for exchange of something, right? Yeah. Quite a ending for episode. So this is why it is the part 1, episode 7, Sanctuary part 2. So this episode picks up with the kids playing a bit of soccer, you know what I'm saying? We call it football, you know what I'm saying, in Jamaica, you know what I'm saying? So it's gives some sense of normalcy, right? Because this is something where you haven't seen in a long while, with the kids, they're trying to survive, their parents trying to survive. So, you don't really see that much, and especially when, you get to go play for another team, or you go play, with some other kids that you're not used to. Okay, you're cramped in a small space with all of these kids and you know them by name and number and stuff. But now you get to mix with other kids now. It's a nice feeling, right? However, there is, something else at foot, right? Because, of course, the first offender is Jimmy, right? Him hesitate to pass the ball to him teammate, Ben, right? Because, he fears the harness scars and, you know, he's not used to the whole thing. You can understand, and especially with grown-ups behaving a certain way, and then him seeing that as a child, no matter how old he is, he's gonna have some feelings about it too, right? Him not fully trust, the kids them especially where have the harness and stuff. Now the next thing now is Tessa, and this is the girl that we meet at the sanctuary, right? She was having a talk with her father, during the game, and him a notice how she had developed this crush on Hal. And he's like, him not want her, like him a say, yo, be careful, and, just take your time, don't rush it, whatever. No, he was like, yeah, get too close. And remember, said the second mass kids, them have a specific purpose for being here. So we're like, hello, dad. It's just like, hello, what's going on now? You know what I'm saying? What is going on? Yes, the breadcrumbs have been laid because, we never trust Terry from morning. But, you know what I'm saying? Now, things are add up, especially with, him having this deal with the aliens. And then, so obviously, right here, we're like, that is definitely what it is. They're doing this to keep themselves safe. And this father is basically telling him daughter, say, yo, don't break your heart, fall in love with this guy because he's going to be going with them. He's not going to stay with us. Okay, so don't fall in love with him and think, guys, we're not going to make no exceptions for this guy. Anyways, back at the camp, the second mass is preparing now for the skitter attack that we them expect and their evacuation. We've forgets that some of the civilians, them like the pregnant woman, them are gonna have difficulty moving them, right? She asks the commander that, if him have any kids of him one, and him say him have two daughters, right? This is the first time we are here Weaver really talk about them, and even saying anything. We figure him have some kids, but it was cool to see that, yeah, that heart of stone ain't so tough, you know what I'm saying? So at the sanctuary, the food situation seems way better than at the camp. I mean, like they have platters and them have, fresh produce. Terry come in where him say him come from some scouting trip and him tell Mike and him friend that, there wasn't any sign of skitters. Mike even a question, them how only able to have this cushy lifestyle out here, so you know what I'm saying? Terry I tell them say that, listen, we not lose the edge, right? But we know say boy we able to kind of quickly evacuate if we need to, It's not necessarily the best answer he gave. It was just like a little placeholder. Now Terry and Tessa, them go to the hidden barn and that is where Pope there, right? He is still being held, of course. Pope was forced to give up the information about the second mass and all of that. So it's almost like Pope is in amazement at how this man is able to prey upon the weakness of Weaver and being able to pull the kids them, from them, you know what I'm saying, without them being the wiser, right? Which reveals how devious Terry is, especially because he might try to survive the invasion by betraying him fellow man, right? So Pope want to know what will happen to him, right? Terry, him not seem to be too concerned about, what happened to him. You know what I'm saying? After all, Pope was the one who broke into the sanctuary, the supply shed, and him even stabbed Tessa's uncle, right? So Terry, they're there and leave Tessa father to clean up the whole Pope situation. Of course, that was a little bit premature, and Pope know how to get underneath your skin, and we can see that the way how him can taunt people and him can insult you. Pope did slip out of the rope them long time. So him just knock out Tessa father, right? And of course him could have kill him, but him not bother kill him and him escape, right? Him even noticed two dead bodies behind the barn, yeah? Which would be some of the man them where they come from the second mass. Of course, the second mass now have no idea of what is happening at the sanctuary, right? And Tom frustration start to build, right? Since them not hear of no word in a 48 hours, and them not see no sign of the third mass nor the escorts. Right? Remember, them did tell them, say, we're good there, so you can just follow that direction here to the so. And they took a different direction, obviously, right? So them not find them, right? Now, we've not happy neither, say, Tom out looking for the kids, right? Because he still trusts Terry, and the fact say Terry almost basically pull ranking, giving him an order that was supposedly coming from the commander, right? So Tom him take off for look up for the kids them, and him even ask Di for check on thing, so they can return to the base camp by that night. Now at the sanctuary now, Rick, we haven't been talking much about Rick, but Rick has been, behaving abnormally for a long little while. And Terry and Mike, have been friends for some point. So when them there at dinner now, right, at the dinner table, Ricky turned to Ben and him ask him how he can eat their food. Like, yo, or you can eat them food and thing, you know what I'm saying? Mike get angry because his son seem to have the manners or him forgetting manners, right? So that changed the mood of everybody and thing, you know what I'm saying? Now, after dinner, Loredz, she see one backpack will belong to Eli, the same, youth will get taken the night before. And when them out walk the grounds now, Hal noticed that the armed guards them are paced the roof, right? So they're more interested in pacing the roof for some reason. At the same time, him running into Tessa, right? And him a question her, why them not have no patrols, to make sure say them a look out for skidders and make sure say everything all right. And him also I tell them say, tell her about, him life and thing. And that this is the first time him has been apart from him father since the whole invasion begun. And she asks him if him, it's almost like she kind of sidestep the whole away him say, and she ask him if him like it here. And, right before him Eva said up to her, you know what I'm saying? Because it's almost like it's a moment where she wants to kind of come clean. Loredz interrupts, right? And she and Hal and Mike them meet up in secret, and she tell them about the backpack where she find. And even Mike did that there when time Eli and his parents run away. So that means Terry team find them and probably find the thing, right? This raises Hal's suspicions, a little bit, because the group doesn't seem like them a watch for skitters. They're watching the second mass and the children them, right? Of course, Mike is a little bit, skeptical of this and, rightly so, I'm not convinced. So I need further proof, since him know Terry for a little while and thing. So him go off looking for that by himself. I don't know why he did that, but hey, him break into the barn to investigate and him find Eli's clothes in a pile, right? Now Terry pull out a gun on him and force him to listen to the side of events, and thing. Him tell him how horrible it was to witness what happened to the seventh mass and, the relentless fighting and only that them have a few survivors. He must say that one of the kids them was a girl named Megan and she was taken by the Skidders and after that the aliens them left them alone for a week. So Terry described the behavior as though the Skitters them now were keeping them safe because of Megan, right? So because them not put up no resistance, right? The harness Megan, she comes back with a message now that the Skitters wanted the kids. And Terry explained that, the groups them want to meet them quotas and so, them a try help them out, keeping the peace and, if them get enough children, them would leave the group them alone. So them come up with this plan or treaties to exchange the kids for immunity. Now Mike, of course, him shocked. Him not have no word for say. Him, you know what I'm saying? He's amazed at what his farmer friend I say. I'm farmer friend now and I'm friend again. So Terry try to appeal to Mike, for say boy, he must understand because remember you have Ricky, and Ting and Ray. Anyways, back at the base camp, Sarah is going into labor, right? And she asks Maggie to stay with her during the delivery. And she talk about how she going to be an awesome single mother. And, that the aliens them decide to ruin her perfectly planned life because she that plan, when time them they come and invade, she didn't know so she pregnant, you know what I'm saying? And she was planning out how she going to do it and all of these things. Anyways, back at the sanctuary, Mike wishes the group could be, could have known Ricky before the invasion and what a good kid he was, So him decide it's time for the second mass to leave the sanctuary, right? With or without consent. So Hal realizes that Tessa knew about the plan the entire time because, she catches up to them when she see them leave and thing. And she alert her father, right? And the rest of the man them, right? That they are escaping. So them run out in the night and thing. Of course, them not try to run and thing and them get pinned down and stuff. So Mike have to stay behind to defend the group and thing, right? While Hal take Ricky and the rest of the kids them, to safety, right? Before they're able to leave, Mike tell Ricky say him love him and him figure like say this is it, you know what I'm saying? And basically this was it for Mike, it was the last thing he could do. But him got do what him can do before anything happened to him to protect them, right? So Mike able to, fend off them for a little while, but then Terry sneak up on him from behind. Terry, tell Mike that the world get torn apart before, we hear the sound of a shot. So we know what happens, right? A moment of silence for Mike. I liked him, Anyways, Tom returns to camp and him tell Weaver that the map where Terry left wrong. Something wrong because we can't find him. right? There is no third mass, right? There is no escorts returning, and all of this is alarming, right? Where are our kids? So Tom say him not trust anything where where Terry tell them, right? About him supposed orders from Porter, right? And right now him is a desperate father search for him picking him, you know what I'm saying? And him no business about what orders were they out there, So the second mass children them find themselves in a very unfamiliar area, right? Of course they are exhausted and them afraid because them a run from night till morning now. So them take a stop at one abandoned house, right? Ben say him think that them should move ahead of the group because you know what I'm saying him can move faster and thing and all initially was almost like him a say yo but then him know because he had an encounter with him in without him that move and thing and he realized say yes indeed him brother could do it nobody else can do it but Ben at this point. So Ben go off and thing on his way back, follow the highway back to the school base camp, right? Now Sarah in a labor now at a standstill and realize say baby in a breach and the situation serious. So since she's not a OBG, right? OBGYN or a surgeon, she it's an unfamiliar territory for her, right? Now we've check in at the same moment now and I talk about how the baby in breach and thing and tell her I said that him first daughter was actually in breach. Yeah, ain't that a moment, man? Right when they needed help, it was this man. Right? So him help to turn the baby from the outside, right? So him offer for help and thing. Now, Tom and I, they still are look, them they on motorcycle and thing, and them a look for clues of the missing kids, and them can't spot nothing. And him see Ben on the road, and he shout to Ben and thing, and Ben, come over and they, him glad to see him, and him a tell him father what go on, him a talk a mile a minute and thing, and he say, listen, you go back with die, and me I go ahead and thing and whatever, and thing, So when them the man them now from the sanctuary them find the abandoned place now, then realize say, yeah, I must hear so Hal and the other children them there. So him tell themself he give themselves up because you know what I'm saying, what you gonna do, you know what I'm saying? I'll open up fire upon the soldier them, you know what I'm saying? And as a distraction, Lawrence try to escape out the back with the kids, right? Now, as one of the man them now prepare for take out Hal, him get shot, dead. And guess who come to the rescue? It's not Tom, because Tom is a little bit away. Pope. It's Pope. John Pope, man. So him engage them in a gun battle and thing, because him never expect this, because he must sneak up from behind them, right? And, that going good until Pope gets shot in his leg still, you know what I'm saying? But then, after that now, Tom comes in, right? And Tom tell himself, that he might come in for help the kids them and thing. Tom, I recognize that boy, it's going to be too dangerous for the two of them try and battle it out with them, so him take away Pope gun, because Pope now go listen to him straight away. So everybody say, if I take away Pope gun, and he tell him, say, listen, we are going to go in and thing, you know what I'm saying? So Tom walk up to the man them and tell them that Porter is on his way and Pope is dead, right? Because they done shoot for a little while, so they think he really dead for true. So he offer himself as a hostage and thing for spare the lives of the kids. And he tell them, say, come on out of the house, man. And you know what I'm saying? Terry man them escort Tom and the kids back to the sanctuary, right? And they, Terry ordered the kids them to be locked in the stable. But before they can do anything, one of the men them, get killed, right? Them not plan to kill Tom, right? And then suddenly and get shot. You know what I'm saying? And what we see is the second mass because, you know what I'm saying, them find a location and thing because of Ben, you know, the rest of the man them, surrender. Nobody not want for dead or get it out said. Anyways. Now he asked Tom when intend for the next. Terry him draw one gun and him prepare for kill all now, but him get shot dead by Tom before him can even fire. Yeah man. Man nah make nobody trouble him picking them. You see me I say taking picking them away from him. You must be mad. Nah, make that happen again. Afterwards now, Weaver, him don't care if the people them from the sanctuary run or them stay, but him forbid them on pain of death to make any more deal with the skitters them, right? And him not take them with him, because he can't trust them, so him separate them. So after all of this now, them reveal that Tom is sent back Ben to the school with Die to get reinforcement and him lead Weaver to the sanctuary, and of course Ben did end up come too. And this make people feel more respect and admiration for him, right? Because now them a say boy, that youth him the on our side, we can't trust him, you know what I'm saying? Even Jimmy, who was hesitant before now, him embrace him, you know what I'm saying? So back at base camp now, Sarah, all our healthy baby, the medical ward, and this is right beside of Pope, who has been injured because he did get shot in the leg. Tom offers Pope a position in the kitchen, right? As a non-verbal thank you for rescuing the kids them, coming to their rescue. Now, outside, the second mass offers a funeral for Mike, right? And it's a proper military funeral, Yeah, man. Yeah, man. The man deserve it, you know what I'm saying? Because him sacrifice him own life to keep him son and the other kids them alive, you know what I'm saying? And we really that hope say it was a bluff, that him did actually get shot, Me that hope say at this moment, when I just see Mike just enter the fray and say, yo, me not get shot, me just did a hide. But no, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. So Tom him said a few words in honor of the friend them we get slain, and Ricky him received the folded flag for him father, Him talk to Ben and said that, it in a mankind nature for kill, and that they, right, would never do that. When he never said they, him said we would never do that. So right, so send up red flags because we know Sir Ricky that act kind of weird, and probably it's because of his trauma and the mental strain and so on. But now we realize the boy Ricky identify himself as a part of the Skitter race, right? And that he's not human anymore. Yeah. And him get a chilling look there, as him tell Ben that him should feel the same way about it. I'm like, bro. And that's the end of the episode. Episode 8. What hides beneath? So this episode starts out with Weaver waking up because Tom, wake him up from a nightmare, right? This weird nightmare that he might have, like him there in a backyard and a skidder attack him, right? Now, Tom wake him up because Commander Porter is back at base camp, right? And he might meet with the second mass, right? The commander commend Tom and Weaver for keeping the troops in good spirits, and even despite all the way going around them, right, in fighting with Terry, you know, they were able to keep the group safe, right? Now Porter is worried about Weaver because him seem very distracted as he might try to brief him, right? And him seem distant and sleep deprived, right? Him even ignore him commanding officer's comments, right? Him want to find out what's the latest news with the Skidder movement. And Porter says that they've noticed that the aliens them have moved their attention to the large structures were located throughout the major cities, and him believe that them depend some kind of new offensive attack, right? Them a plan something, right? The resistance them can't just wait around to see what happens. So in a 4 days, it must say that the fighters them will launch a coordinated attack at the structures. Now outside the school building, I'll look for Ben, right? And him find him younger brother jump rope, right? And him discover say Ben has been doing it for almost 3 hours non-stop, right? That him even now make one comment to him brother like, yeah, pa the stats them, brother? And he's like, yeah, probably me turn it on from before me come out here, you know, and thing. Yeah, and the two of them just look side eye one another, you know what I'm saying?
They're taking the children, and those spinal harnesses are doing something far worse than just controlling them. Before we dive into the fight to take back what's ours, we are pausing for a quick intermission. Don't lose hope, stay vigilant, and hold on to your humanity. Back in a flash here on Code Flix.
They can destroy our cities. They can take our technology. They can even try to take our future. But they'll never take our stories. This podcast exists because people like you choose to listen. If you believe this mission is worth continuing, share it with someone who would stand beside you when the skies fall. Leave a comment. Every listen, follow, and share helps keep the resistance alive. Today we survive. Tomorrow we rebuild. Anyways, Porter want Tom Fay take one scout into the city tomorrow, find out what type of movement and action the aliens are making in regards to the structure, right? Of course, this is a recon mission, you know, even with the 7th mass gone and thing, and no one has heard from the 4th and the 5th, right? And things aren't going particularly smoothly for Weaver's troops, right? Even after the 2nd mass was having problems building explosives to take down the structures. Now, Porter, he meet with Pope, right? And him a tell the commander, say, him know a little bit about demolition work, and, you know, nobody not really trust Pope, you see me say? But since him come back and rescue the children, them, you know, them want give him a chance, you know what I'm saying? So Weaver, in the meanwhile now, him catch up with Ricky in the medical ward, right? And him a go through him art therapy. And one image will attract Weaver attention, you know what I'm saying? And just take him out totally. Now Porter doesn't want Pope anywhere near the actual explosive, you know. So they have to find ways to work around that. And at the same time now, Ricky and make Weaver take the drawing we him have. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you can't have that drawing. It's for you. You know what I'm saying? So later that night now, Weaver curl up on the couch again and he's unable to sleep. He might take some medication and he might look back on the drawing where Ricky have, right? And the one in the game. And this drawing have a bunch of houses, right? Where seem to be like some kind of neighborhood, you know? Random stuff, right? So the next day, Pope, him come into the lab where Uncle Scott have, it's a makeshift lab, they had a work on explosives and radios and all of these things, right? And him a go through different items them in the room and him notice that them have parts of one salvaged mech, one of the old mech them where them they destroy, right? Scott say him want to experiment with the piece, and when they realize it suddenly set off the mech for fire at the wall, right? The automated, gun, right? And that of course scare Matt. That shake up Matt big time. So him tell him father and Pope, say Pope know how to kill skidders, but him father, say listen, me no want you go near Pope. Stay away from him. Oh, criminal that. Anyways, couple moments later now, Tom asks Al and Di if them notice anything, about Weaver acting oddly, right? But guess what? Weaver overhear this conversation, right? And him not really appreciate how Tom give observations, you know what I'm saying, and I talk about him then with it. Him decide to replace Di now on the scouting mission because Tom and Hal and Di would have go. So him say him a go take Di spot. So him believe say him can best assist the team, right? And when Tom push now for say, why you think that why you think you will be best as the captain, right? For stay in command here. And thing and him say, you know anything about construction? Him attack Tom and ask him, yo, you know nothing about construction? And Tom is like, yo, no, I know nothing about construction. I don't know nothing, It's like, and I say, well, I was a contractor for a couple of years. It's like, wow, this is something we never knew about Weaver again being revealed. You know what I'm saying? So back in the medical ward, Dr. Glass have a follow up with Ben, right? And she pretend like say is a normal checkup, but it's not really a normal checkup. It's because of all of the erratic behavior and all of the things that was going on and thing. So he might ask her about the harness scars and whether they will eventually go away. Of course, she don't have an exact answer to give, since him and Ricky seem to be harnessed much longer than the other kids. So she tests in pain threshold around the harness needles, and it doesn't seem to evoke any reaction from him. And that kind of surprised her, but she does let on that she's surprised at what happened. Now, Rick doesn't seem to be readjusting as well as Ben. Ben is more, but, so Ben decide to befriend Rick, and to try and get him to talk, to open up. Now, on the scouting mission, Weaver, Tom, and Hal, them are investigate the large structures, them and the ones within the middle of the city. We've noticed that the aliens are using earth materials, steel, copper, wire, scrap metal. They say Ben and the other kids them did take up for the skitters them at the time when them did catch them and stuff. So I believe that the structure is penetrable because if they might use normal everyday items, these are stuff we can use. So at the south base, the man them get surprised and then notice some large, tall, slender, humanoid creatures, right? Who seem to evoke a reaction from the skitters who bow down in front of them. Right? And they've never seen, since the invasion, and they've never seen these aliens, right? Which seem to be something that they missed, right? Or they didn't know about, right? So the man them discuss how these new beings mean to the invasion now, because why is it that they have not appeared before, right? So the three of them spot one of the creatures them are roaming in the alleyway, right? And then they hear one woman voice. This is Sonia Rankin, right? Them find out say she has been in the city the entire time during the invasion, all alone, right? So she all invite them to her hideout, and thing. Of course, them not know for sure whether it's a trap or a distraction, you know what I'm saying? But them decide for trust her and thing, because probably she can give them intel because she's been here at the center of it all, undetected, quote unquote. So Tom and Al go up and thing, and Weaver him say keep watch outside the building, right? Now back at the camp, Matt asks Pope, how him know so much about bombs. So this starts a conversation where him tell the boy how him want to, to be brave and thing, and because him feel like him always afraid and thing and whatever. So of course, the way Pope is, him have a little soft spot. Him try to reassure the kid, that the mechs are just hunks of junk, you know what I'm saying? Matt noticed that the mech bullet, it looked like a man-made bullet, right? Because them figure that them can use the mech armor to make it into bullets that can penetrate the mech armor, right? Make sense? So Pope say the aliens them raided the armories them, and they all of them something there. So they might replace the slug with mech metal, which would be stronger. Now Matt, he might innocently suggest that we humans could use the alien bullets against their own makers. You know what I'm saying? Now Ben him try to make small talk with Ricky, who seemed to have lost most of his humanity, You know what I'm saying? Ricky doesn't seem to miss him father, and him say him even thought the harnesses that have been removed from his back, you know what I'm saying? That it's still present with him, and that the Skidders haven't abandoned him or Ben. Kind of left out Ben outside. So being grouped with Rick kind of triggered Ben's defensive side. He's like, yo, him hate the Skidders, and enough to talk that way, you know what I'm saying? And Rick I try to reassure him, say that the Skitters will come back for them, and that does not make Ben feel no better, you know what I'm saying? Make him feel worse after where Ben and Rick go through, you know what I'm saying? Now, back in the city, Sonia treat Tom and Hal to a cup of tea, and she's very polite, and she have clean appearance and thing. I must make them forget about the war and what's going on outside of the walls. Tom even a question the fact say Sonia have made it so long. You know what I'm saying? Especially since most of the food stores look empty. Right? She kind of brush off that, comment and thing, and start talk about her fun with her family, and it was great to have them, and quiet apartment building and thing. She says that the aliens them took her and many of her friends them and family to a camp, but them eventually just let them go. And she said that them talk to them and thing through the honest children them, and they don't want any of the humans them left on Earth. She reveals that. Now the two men, them hear one noise outside and thing, and them run outside for check for see what happen. Now when they realize, now Weaver that the on him own agenda, jump on the bike, while him make sure so them can't follow him right away. Him disassemble something out of the bike and thing to tap it from move, And them just seem just run off in one direction. Now Tom and Hal, them try to fix up back the bike them for see if they can catch up to him, figure out what kind of mission him gone on and why him left them. And Sonia, she is wondering whether or not they will come back. You know what I'm saying? Will you guys come back? Back at base camp now, Glass trusts Lawrence with a very big secret. She kept the skitter that Weaver shot a few weeks earlier, right? And she believes that understanding and studying its anatomy could help in the fight to destroy the invaders, right? She examined the corpse with Lords and analyzes the creature from the inside out. Now, the two women them then continue to dissect and them notice something very startling. There's a harness. So that means said this creature was once something else, right? Just like how these kids have the harness. So, something not right. Now that night in Boston, the Masons them ride through the street and they head to Weaver's old neighborhood because, they figure more or less say there must be a reason why the captain would have done what he did. And, so them figure more or less say the same day. So Tom tell him son say, but why you stay and watch in case things go south, right? And if anything happen, you return and tell Porter what we have because that is most important right now. You know what I'm saying? So, and the photos of them they take and then take pictures of the structure and the beams and all of that. So, Tom enter the home, right? Because him see Weaver bike sitting out the front there, The place dark, and quiet and covered in blood. Tom finally spot Weaver now, who is taking a swig of alcohol, right, in one of the room them. And him there and him share some information about him life and that he and him wife did grow apart much earlier than the invasion. And him said that Ricky drew the exact house. How him know? How him know? You know what I'm saying? How him know? Right? And this make him paranoid and think that the aliens have been trying to get him the entire time. But Tom, doubts that them can really read minds. And he asks about the blood inside the house, Weaver said that him they return home after the bombs them first struck and him find him farmer wife fiance badly injured on the floor. And him youngest daughter, Sophia, was captured by the skidders. So while the mix them are home fire and the rest of his family, he went after Sophia and saw her harness working on a site. And him take her home and try to remove the harness himself. And that ended up killing her. Yeah. A moment for Captain Weaver's daughter. So it seems that he has been tortured by these things, happening and thing. So him say him was so happy for Tom and Mike when they was able to retrieve them kids, knowing that it was late for him, right? Weaver say, well, tonight at the night, me I go sleep in my own bed tonight, right? And I try to convince Tom, But Tom I say, yo, we can't let this happen because in a 3 days, right? Unless we have to get the mission going. And there's so many things on the line, so many lives on the line. You know what I'm saying? And just then we hear the sound of approaching mechs them where, and the Tom now have to start move. You know what I'm saying? But of course Weaver is like, go, you know what I'm saying? Leave me and thing. Now I'll run, to find some safety somewhere. There's a playground nearby, right? Weaver and Tom prepare for the attack from inside of the house and thing. And the two of them together were able to destroy the mech. They find it very suspicious that the robot knew exactly where to find them. And this leads them to know why Sonia was unscathed and why she was where she was. You know what I'm saying? Because Tom I make mention that, and him always I make mention about some historical events that, in wars, they usually used to use one person as bait for basically alert, as we in Jamaica love to call them. We call them informer. Yeah. So you have somebody who are inform. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this woman was one of them, right? So of course, this kind of spring him back into the game. Weaver back into the game, because at that point, Weaver did done resign. Like him I say, yo, Tama, you go lead the second match because me done. You know what I'm saying? Me done. But when him realize all of this now, he realize that he's needed same way. And him have a purpose now. So he returns with them to the apartment, right? So when we next see the next scene, we see a voice from a stranger out the front door of Sonia door, and it asks if she knows where the men went. So she play dumb, because the three of them in a place there with her, and then basically must, make her do say, listen, you can't talk, you know what I'm saying, and tell them nothing, else we're gonna deal with your case. So, um, of course, something interesting in the voice of the human that was speaking. And we realize it is Karen. Yes, you remember Karen? Yes. Hal, little love. Yeah. Him long lost. Yeah. She has been taken as a harness. You know what I'm saying? And she is being used. You know what I'm saying? And look through the people and then she say, Karen, you know what I'm saying? I'll want to open up the door. You know what I'm saying? I'll want to make sure say, you know what I'm saying? I'll wanted to deal with it, you know what I'm saying? Right there and then. You know what I'm saying? So Tom I tell him, say, listen, it isn't the time. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Tom, him look back through the door and thing and him see that on a Karen alone, that she was there with one of the same aliens that they spotted the day. You know what I'm saying? Now, then, for a little while in the day and thing until they leave, right? So, Weaver confronts Sonia about how she sold them out and thing. And she said that Karen promised, say, them would have bring you guys back to me so that, I wouldn't be alone anymore. And, and thing, you know? So, maybe this isn't the first time Sonia sold out farmer, our fellow humans because of this. You know what I'm saying? So the only solution is for them to take her with them so that she doesn't continue this kind of behavior. But Weaver said probably it's better for let her stay because she done mentally unstable and she kind of stuck in the past because she talk about things as if, you know what I'm saying, it still happen. You know what I'm saying? So them give her some false information about where they are headed, you know what I'm saying? And thing. And like them I say, yo, we are good on Mass John down there, so to the left. You know what I'm saying? When at the right them really are going, And she's like, I like out of Mass John. You know what I'm saying? So that was, crazy though. You know what I'm saying? Now back at the medical ward now, Lawrence, suggests that they share the information with about the skidder harness. Of course, Anne objects because she don't think it's a good idea because people terrified of the harness kids them already, and what what they could possibly become could even be more compounding the issue. You know what I'm saying? So she still do believe so that she should at least tell Tom about the fact that he could potentially still be losing Ben again. So the man then return now, and Tom believes that he should divulge most of what happened in the city to Porter, but him leaving out the part about what happened with Weaver's breakdown. You know what I'm saying? It's between us. You know what I'm saying? Him asks him, what made him continue to decide to keep fighting. And Weaver say it has to do with the glasses where him find in the house, right? That it belonged to his wife, and him know the day of the attack it wasn't there. So there is some hope that she still is alive. Now outside, Pope now I call everybody attention to something. I try to get everybody attention. So the two of them come out and thing, and see everybody gathered around Pope and thing, right? And he, with the approval, of course, of Captain Weaver, he shows them the mech armor can be defeated with the bullets where they make now with the mech, armor, right? So, of course, people were a bit skeptical, them never really want to give him a gun for him, demonstrate, so he's demonstrated, But they allowed it and thing. Now, when them say the mech armor get destroyed, it's almost like hope hit the camp. Everybody was like hopeful now because we can hit back at the enemy and we can hit them hard, right? And Captain Weaver said, how much of them you can get? And him say, as much metal as we can produce more bullets, right? The only person who not look happy at this is Rick. Yeah. That's the episode. Episode 9, Mutiny. So, the second mass, they took some time to relax in the auditorium. And that show Tom the skitter harness and thing. Oh yeah, they were watching one cartoon, I think, or something. They were watching some film, right? That's what they were doing when they were relaxing in the auditorium. So Anna show Tom the skitter harness. Die returned injured. And no get to see any internal damage, right? Die is returning from a mission that he went to check in on Commander Porter, making sure say, them have a plan for, synchronize the strategy and everything and whatever. You know what I'm saying? She noticed, say, Lieutenant Donna was moving up the chain, right? The ranks. Tom talked to her about Weaver, tell her, what happened to him at, in the city and thing. So only Weaver really hear from Die what the next steps should be, right? Or at least we think he heard, something from him because he comes now with a plan. Now, we don't know what he heard, right? So obviously he must have heard something for this plan, you know what I'm saying? However, Tom, I question him about the plan now because, I'm trying to understand certain things and him start to get very defensive. Him and Dana, right? Lieutenant Dana, almost like, hey, we have question him at the commander, and thing. You know what I'm saying? And thing, So Weaver offer to clear the room and thing, and I tell him, say the mission will be completed and, them, he must say, listen, me go put you on sentry duty. Him no want hear nothing else from Tom. You know what I'm saying? And he must send him up on sentry duty. That we mean say, boy, you know what I'm saying? Me want you far away from me when me I do this, Now, and Lourdes told Tom about Weaver's medical condition because he came to Lourdes one day and asked her for some medicine, right? For help him for sleep, right? And wake up. Now, these medicines have a bad combination, right? If you take too much, it could lead to some extreme erratic behavior, right? Now, Hal wasn't happy about sentry duty either, right? And he wanted to follow up on the whole Weaver pill thing, you know what I'm saying? But Tom, him need more information first, right? So him send Margaret and Al, right? Forgot do a double check, you know what I'm saying? Now Pope, I watch over the bullet production now. Matt now I try for help to do something and thing. Tom insists upon talking to Weaver in private. But when him confront him about the pills, Weaver call Donna and Jimmy and them take him, secure him weapons and lock him up. Now Jimmy was beginning to doubt, something, happening and thing. Him realize say sitting right there so. Of course, Donna seems to be well behind Weaver, especially the fact that him get to come up the ranks, you know what I'm saying? Now Ben him end up help Scott, right? And at Uncle Scott. And he help him, with the hopes of finding the right frequency for jam the skitter transmission, and then they are them a turn the dial and thing and Ben did feel something, right? But he keep it quiet, right? Say nothing to Uncle Scott. Now Weaver him tell Pope say, remember one bomb him did go tell him, right? Now he tell him say he want 4 bomb. So Weaver now changed the plan, right? If we have 4 bombs, for what reason we don't know. Of course, Pope didn't have enough fuse to give them that much time between lighting all of them, right? And the blast, right? And that never shake Weaver none at all. Him just want the 4 bomb. Now, Ben him go back now, to the radio and thing, and that after Scott did leave and thing. Rick did come with him and thing. Ben I hope said that Rick would have changed him whole attitude and thing, but Rick say him could feel the change coming as well. And that Ben, Ben must be feeling it too. Now Ben, I wonder why him could have even hear the radio, right? Him could have, get that feeling there and thing. Now along Margaret them return now and them tell Weaver that there was signs of skidders and mechs, right? But that not dissuade him from the mission and at all. Him say it's still on. Now Jimmy joined them in going to Anne, right? And I tell her what happened and thing. And then come up with one plan for free Tom. Now Jimmy him bring some food, cause you didn't watch the man for how long. You must hungry, you know what I'm saying? And the man, must hungry. So he bring food. And then when Donna opened the door, Tom just charge him, right? Cause Tom, realized the play where him, Jimmy has set up for him, and then knock him out and thing. So when they get to the infirmary now, Di tell them say, can wake up now. Him tell them say that the skidders and they make them hit Porter's post, right? And that is when he was there and thing, and him even believes that Porter might be dead too because, him barely make it out, you understand? And that the other units them were supposed to because the coordinated attack must be happening, right? So the other units them were supposed to reporting. And Porter's last word was that them need to abort the attack. So of course them realize say it's up to them now for stop Weaver, right? Now him find Donna get tied up, right? And thing. At the same time now Ben talk to Scott about the radio and him a confess how, him don't know what him is and all of that. Tom send Matt back to him quarters and close up the classroom and tell Pope that him want him on him side for take command, right? So he's gonna mutiny, you know what I'm saying, and take command. So him want Pope for take apart the bombs them, you know what I'm saying? While him talk to Weaver. So of course Weaver knowing, say Anne and Tom a friend, he go to Anne and him asked her about the location. And Hal and Margaret revealed to him, said that them didn't know what go on and things. So then take him weapons from him, and Tom, then they question him. Weaver said him want to show the aliens them that them now just go take this line down, right? But Tom refused to stand down, you know what I'm saying? Now, with that thing say, at least Pope would have, be on Tom's side. No, him show up and him tell him, say, listen, me never defuse the charges them. Me there for kill some aliens. Cause of that him love, him love for, deal with them, case and thing. So, Tom said that him know how Pope stay, so he was playing a double bluff when him tell him that, he did already take the blasted fuses them. And Weaver pull him gun on him and thing. Tom wanted Weaver to admit what was happening and said that there wasn't another way to trust them, you know what I'm saying? To get people to actually be on your side, you have to actually be willing to reveal certain things, be able to level with a brother, you know what I'm saying? You can't just expect, say, in a situation, people just trust you wholeheartedly when you're not being truthful yourself, you know what I'm saying? Or trustworthy yourself. So that him a try to plead to him now and thing. Jimmy showed himself and thing, and Weaver decides him have to stand down, you know what I'm saying? He was willing now for basically give everybody the facts, you know what I'm saying, the real truth, right? With Tom standing by his side. So of course everybody gather in at the gym and thing. While them a go, Weaver tell Tom say him they quick taking the pills since him come back from the place there. And him tell the second mass that Porter's orders said that they would have to think they abandon the plan, but him believes say, we need to push on and thing. So him ask for volunteers now for who would want to join him on this crazy mission. Him say him want 50 persons to stand with him and thing. So him say anybody who willing to come with me, you can come to the front. Of course, Dan at the front of the pack, right? And a couple other persons. Don't to all join them out of front. You know what I'm saying? I never expected that. So everybody get geared up and thing ready, to go and thing, and Matt confront Pope over what him do to Tom. And Pope told him to always it to same father. You know what I'm saying? Cause him no want end up like him. You know what I'm saying? I about to say it would never be like him. You know what I'm saying? So Margaret now she asks Pope for him plan, and because she know him stay, you know what I'm saying? And him say him just go through with the attack, you know what I'm saying? And he remind her how him save her and thing. And whether she forget about what he had done for her. And she just give him one face there, you know what I'm saying? Like if that face they could have killed it, would have killed him dead right there. So right? So I'll know, him did want to make sure say Ingo and thing. Ben and Karen, you know what I'm saying, and his mother went through or what they gone through, him want to be there, you know? Tom could have dissuaded him son, you know what I'm saying? So he wish him the best of luck. Ben and Scott, them tell them how the radio, would have helped them out and thing and whatever, and something. Yeah, that's the episode. Episode 10. 8 hours. So Tom and Ben, them head to get spare part for the radio, right? Where them a work on and thing. Rick jumped down from the ceiling and attack Uncle Scott while him there, check it out and something. So them find Scott and Then bring him to the infirmary. Now, Ben knew that it was Rick instantly, right? And the radio was taken apart totally, you know what I'm saying? So him confront Rick about it, and him a tell Rick say, listen, me need them to come out of my head. Me don't want them in my head. But Rick a said that the Skitters were better than humans. If I try to convince him, you know what I'm saying? Him jump out the window and Ben yell for someone to stop him as them in him jump over a barrier and thing. You know, they can't catch him again. So Ben try to catch Rick and thing, right? But at the same time, one man point him gun at him and thing, and Margaret have to intervene, you know, because he was about to fire it directly at him. Now, Rick go in the woods and thing, and him quickly meet up with Megan. Not too far off, you know, right? And she, you know, she want to know everything, you know what I'm saying? And she even look different from how she did look before. She did look like she was way advanced in her transformation. All Rick want, he want to go with them, you know. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, when Tom find Rick, he might tell Tom, say, listen, they left me. All them did want is the information. Them never business about me. And that is when him break down and him finally admit how he miss him papa, him dad, him father, right? And him tell Tom, oh, him tell him everything and thing. So, you know, say, the fighters them are gonna be in danger because their strategy has been blown, basically, right? Because Rick would have been at every session that they were having in terms of what they had and what they were gonna do. So we go and see now Weaver and the fighter them, and you see them stop at a point, and this is where the other units were supposed to meet up before the great mission goes on. But of course they weren't there, so that means that at this point is either proceed or retreat, right? And them decide to proceed. So them have to split up now into 4 squads, right? Each one attack one leg, right? And remember the 4 bombs that were made, yeah. So those is what they were planning on now to do what they're doing. So Tom and bring back Rick and them take back the same missing piece to the radio and thing. And him tell them that them need to evacuate the civilians them because, you know, they know say boy things are gonna pop off, right? Them not just make sure say a few fighters stay behind, right? For all the aliens them back as long as possible. And again I give them a nice little speech about history and you know how a small force, you know, comes up against a larger army with more advanced stuff, you know, can win same way. Now Hal and Anthony, right, they are reporting about the mechs them and that they were moving into position around the structure, which means that them ready for them, right? Because them would have get the strategy and know what was to come, you know. So Weaver tell Al say he want him to return to the school and tell them to evacuate. Kind of reminder, they not know way to communicate with them, so they would know say that them applied for do too, right? But Hal wanted to stay, and Weaver have to convince him say if him not go back, it will be for naught. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know what I'm saying? You have to get them out. So the civilians them are get ready for head out and thing. Matt and Tom talk about helping Pope and thing. So Tom told him that him did angry because him did care, right? And him send him with Lorenza and, you know, to help for direct the civilians them to the tunnel and thing, you know. The Reds wanted to stay behind with Anne and thing, you know what I'm saying? But of course, the civilians are gonna need someone with medical experience, you know, to keep an eye on Rick and, you know. So two of them said them goodbyes and thing. Now Scott was running out of time now to find the right frequency, and Tom wanted Ben to head into the tunnels. You know what I'm saying? He wants to secure his son. But Ben insists on staying, right? Because him know, you know, what is happening and him can feel it. You know what I'm saying? Then Margaret now she reports that the mechs them nearby. And then back at the school, Margaret called Jimmy to her side and thing, you know what I'm saying? That when the first mech get close enough, them will open fire and take it down. Right? They do that, and you know, it was nice and victorious, you know, start out and thing, you know. Just as they were able to get their thing going, yeah. So they saw that more mechs were on their way. And them, you know, just from the same place and thing, you know what I'm saying? Scott and Ben now are continuing them work on the radio because boy, this are the only thing them can try and figure out how to, you know, defeat them. Now Scott find the right frequency, you know what I'm saying? And that is what is able to save them in the nick of time, right? But them need the signal to be a little bit more stronger, right? So that, you know, thing there. So as the makes them come in and thing and them able to connect to the bigger antenna, the makes them line up, right? Right as Ben ran out on the flagpole, you know, if use it as an antenna. And even Tom have to end up helping for hook up the radio as the fighters them ready for fire, you know what I'm saying? And them a try it. So just in the nick of time, it works and we see the mix them a retreat. Of course, this causes a lot of discomfort for Ben, right? As he might jam the transmissions and thing. And just in time now, Hal return and tell Tom what happened and thing, and you know, him said that he noticed that the roads them did clear, meaning say that they have an opportunity, right? Meaning say that that jamming signal helped because right now the aliens them in a disarray basically, you know what I'm saying? Because of the thing where I jam them signal. Now Tom him find Anna pack up and thing and him tell her to get the civilians them somewhere safe, right? Because him a go figure help out Weaver. Because Weaver wouldn't know, you know what I'm saying, that or wouldn't realize, you know, what did happen and thing. So him wanted her to watch out for Ben and Matt if anything happen and thing. And of course she promised him that she would do that and thing. So two of them share a kiss, you know what I'm saying? And then Tom walk away and thing. Now Scott him rig up the car with the big antenna and Hal showed him the route. You know what I'm saying? Forget to Weaver. So of course him they want to go with him, but Tom tell him say, listen, why you look out for your brothers them. You know what I'm saying? And him just a try to look out for everybody, you know what I'm saying? And thing. So with a final hug, you know, Tom set out, right? On his way, him find Pope and Anthony. Anthony badly injured. You know what I'm saying? And Pope basically have to play dead because, you know what I'm saying, they make them look like they did a number on them. So they got Anthony into the car and Tom sent them back to the school. Now Pope left Tom with a handy weapon, right? Which is a modified RPG. So Weaver come just in time for Tom to find him, you understand? And Tom now notice the ships were returning, right, to the structure, right, which would have been due to the jamming of the transmission and stuff, you know. So he must say, boy, this would be a great opportunity because right now them confused and afraid, right? So Tom realized that them were close enough to take a shot with the RPG. But Weaver said, boy, the military tried to hit them with everything they had, but nothing ever worked. Thomas said, it's at least a try because we're there right now. Me could take a chance. And he takes aim and he hits the ship. You hear what I'm saying? He hit the ship. And may I tell you, say, when the ship they crash into the mothership, right, where they are top of the structure, it set off a series of explosions will do a lot of damage, right? Now, them feel nice now, so them a head back now and thing. However, right in front of them while they're driving, Karen shows up in the middle of the road and a ship joins her, right? She has said to them, say, oh, no, understand. And here comes the human alien will exit the ship. Karen said that them never expect resistance to such a degree. And of course, Tom is furious that the aliens now want to negotiate since humanity is proven as a harder target than they thought after all that we then do to the humans them. And Tom want to know what them want. Of course, we've already want for fire. Karen say, no make no sense to do that because of Ben, right? That him harness, you know what I'm saying, is in a process and Ben wasn't free. And that then could call him back anytime they want unless Tom went with them. No. You hear me say? No. Ben is in their control so they can take him back anytime they want. Of course, Weaver said to him, say, yo, me not trust them, you know, man. Me not trust them. But Karen, I explained that them not really want to force him, but if they have to, they will. Of course, Tom couldn't allow whether or not they were trying to bluff him or what. So him decide for go and him take Karen hand. Weaver watch Tom walk up in the ship, right? With Karen and the humanoid alien. Yeah. And that is the end of the series. Season 1. You know what I'm saying? Quite an interesting one. And we see a total change over the series. You know what I'm saying? As I mentioned, it started out pretty slow, but it started to get more exciting as I watched. And every episode seemed like it led into the other one, right? With the exception of one or two little things, this series really shows a lot of what human beings are about. You know what I'm saying? Especially when we're pushed to the edge and trying to survive. We try to make do with what we have. You know what I'm saying? Those little moments with the, you know, with the kids enjoying themselves, you know, or, you know, as a family being able to watch a show, you know, and being able to do certain things, you know what I'm saying, is what drives the whole thing. Even that story with the sanctuary where these people decided that it was better to give up them own humans in order for them to be left alone, you know what I'm saying, was a sign that they were trying to make the best of what they thought was the best decision in our circumstance like that, right? Of course, you know what I'm saying, it's not, you know, totally the right one, you know, but it made them into monsters, the same monsters that they were so afraid of. Yeah. So those are my personal insights and interpretation of this series and it's season 1, you know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, I've watched all of it and we're in for even more. So if you want to hear more deep dive on this and any other thing, let me know in the comments. These are some theories about unresolved mysteries and plot points. So, Falling Skies Season 1, it sets up a lot of mystery, right? Around who the aliens are, the Harness Kids, and Tom Mason's whole disappearance at the end there, you know? The season unresolved questions mostly point to one big idea, right? The invasion is not just a war, but an experiment in control and adaptation. So, when we look at that, the first theory that comes to mind is the aliens' agenda. One of the biggest mysteries is how the invaders actually go about doing what they're doing, right? And what them actually want, right? A common theory is that Earth is being used as a long-term labor breeding or military resource, right? There's something going on, you know what I'm saying? And they are using Earth as that stepping stone, right? Which fits the narrative in a way that will keep many of us tuned in, right? That many humans are alive, right? They didn't come and, decimate, or they could have found ways to poison the air or something, just to kill out humans, but they didn't, right? So that is a sign of that. Another theory about this is that the aliens are studying how humans organize resistance, and when they let these small groups survive, it creates a control for them. They have a testable environment in which they can control, and that would explain why the invaders them seem to apply pressure selectively rather than ending the conflict quickly. Number 2 is the harnessed children. The children are fitted with harnesses, and it's the most disturbing thing, about this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's an unresolved plot point as of season 1. So the theory is that the harness is not just parasite delivery system, but a method of rewriting the children into hybrid, you know what I'm saying, scouts or possibly obedient workers. Yeah. A darker theory is that the aliens prefer children because they are easier to reshape psychologically and biologically, making them into ideal long-term hosts, right? Once you bend the tree a certain way, you have leverage to keep it that way, for the rest of its life. You know what I'm saying? Rather than, an older host that will, you know what I'm saying, not have much further to go other than where it has been. So that would explain why we see the show keep the process of this whole thing mysterious instead of giving us the full technical explanation in season 1, right? The Skitters or Skitters. Skittles. The Skitters look like the main enemy force, right? But season 1 leaves their origin unclear, right? At the end there, we see where the other aliens appear, right? And so now we are wondering what their role is in this whole thing. It almost seems like they are in charge of the Skitters in some way. So, you know what I'm saying? We're wondering now. And even with the whole idea of seeing the mix, you know what I'm saying? And that comparison between the mix and them, right? The Skitters don't, you know what I'm saying? They don't seem to be that force anymore, you know, that main enemy force. So, but they seem to be more of an enslaved species, you know, and they're basically just acting as enforcers, right, for these aliens, you know. That would make the show repeated hints much more clearer, right? Especially in war, you have different layers of battles. You have the battle in the field, right? And then you have the battle that, you know, happens at a higher level, right? And with the skitters themselves, it is, you know, possibly be that they are victims, you know, and they're even under the same system of enforcement and influence, right? And that is why it makes the whole thing now of the resistance, them victories and thing, feel very small, although it is meaningful. Because them just start to scratch the surface of what is going on. Tom's disappearance. So the whole season 1 finale ends with Tom boarding that alien ship, which creates one of the show's biggest cliffhangers, right? And one of the theories that he is being taken for interrogation because the aliens, you know, recognize him as some kind of resource for information, right? Another theory is that the aliens are deliberately recruiting or transforming him, right? Because Tom has become such a force or a symbol of the resistance, you know, and he may be useful as some kind of hostage, right? Or even someone that would work for them now, you know what I'm saying? Then can get him turned. And this ambiguity works because it makes you look at the finale with a question, you know, of identity. You know what I'm saying? Is Tom still acting as a leader, or has he become a part of the system that he has been fighting? Weaver's behavior. So season 1 also hints that Weaver is hiding something, right? Or has been hiding a few things. And at least he has been damaged beyond repair, you know, in certain areas, right? So one theory is that his strange behavior reflects an exposure to some kind of influence, right? Whether it be some alien influence, whether it be trauma or guilt over some of the choices he has made, right? In order to be where he is at now. Another theory is that the show is using him to show how the leadership in collapse can, you know, can collapse, and you know, it's very unstable. In a sense, his behavior is not just this plot hole, but it is a result of a stress test for the audience's benefit. You know what I'm saying? Bring us there, you know, and keep us invested. And the final theory I'll look at for this is the wider world. So, season 1 keeps the large state of Earth intentionally vague. So, we only been focusing on Massachusetts, you know what I'm saying, in the United States. And, you know, we only hear little echoes of other states around and stuff. But what to Jamaica and other whole geography, right? What about Pakistan? What about Iran? What about all the other countries you could name, right? The aliens, they want humanity fragmented and isolated. So, in a way, this is very expressive of what would really happen, right? If we cannot communicate with one another, right? And this is what this podcast lives on, you know, being able to put these episodes out and be able to communicate via the internet, right? These people are living in the dark ages, basically, and they can't coordinate globally, right? So what they have is just to try and work these local resistance groups, right? So let's just say, you know what I'm saying, in that universe, it's possible that other places in the world you have similar people like a Tom Mason, like a Weaver, you know what I'm saying, working probably together to forge some kind of resistance and doing the same thing. Right? Let's just say, you know what I'm saying? That is what the case is, right? You can imagine how much damage them can do, right? Yeah. And that makes the show geography feel more political, right? And not just this post-apocalyptic thing, right? Every question that is unanswered just seems to us fuels the speculation, right? Especially about this supply, command, and the communication, right? And this, as I say, brings, you know, more emphasis on the idea of survival itself, and, you know, as it become this battle now against this enforced ignorance, you know? Yeah. So those are my theories, right? And I couldn't give you too much because I might spoil season 2, you know what I'm saying? But let me know if you like these and if you want me to do season 2, right? And, you know, how far we can go with this one, you know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, let me know in the comments. So that is it for this episode. And this episode of the podcast has been, you know, really interesting, you know, gave me a lot of headache. Why? Because when I was going through and trying to get some of the information, I recognized, say, that I had the wrong season. So I started out, you know what I'm saying, thinking I had the right thing. And then I had to make some adjustments. And yeah, like many times, you know, sometimes you make, you know, some mistakes. You think you're recording something and it's not recorded right. That's the feeling. I was like, damn, I'm going to have to do this over. I just dedicated like an hour to do this thing. And then now I end up having to do 2 hours to get it done. But yeah, this podcast is long enough already. So, you know, thank you again for listening and reaching this far. If you made it this far, big up your damn self. Y'all are awesome. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there you have it. Another thrilling chapter in our voyage through the universe of sci-fi television. We're charting a course towards 5,000 downloads, and your engagement helps power the journey. Follow, comment, and share your thoughts. Until we meet again, keep exploring the unknown. This content is CAN credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org.